Hello friends, today is February 24th, 2026. Let's talk about the highs, the lows and the headaches in the world of game development from the perspective of an industry insider. Let's start with Diablo II. From out of nowhere, after the 30th anniversary celebration of the series, Blizzard released an update for this 25-year-old masterpiece, and finally made it a part of the Steam catalog. The expansion called Reign of the Warlock introduced, you guessed it, a new Warlock class. Alongside it, the update includes major endgame changes, such as adjustable terror zones, new enemies, quality of life updates, like loot filters, enhanced stash tabs, and confrontation with new bosses. With all that, Blizzard also went ahead and announced the same class for Diablo 4 and Diablo Immortal later in the year. Before we go any further, I must confess, if you have been following my newsletter, you know that I have a long-standing love for Diablo 2 as it was the first video game I ever played, so I'm definitely biased. But regardless of that, I think it's huge for a couple of reasons. First, we haven't seen any major updates for Diablo 2 since the release of Resurrected in 2021, and this release may signify a strategic shift toward live service support even for classic titles. The second piece is the Steam release, which once again broadens market reach and leverages Valve's massive install base. Fortunately, everybody is so in love with this game that there is a lot of positive reception, unlike it was with Overwatch, which got buried in negative reviews from the start. And the last part, I think it's a very smart strategy to release this class across several different games, especially with staggered release dates. Hook people in with a nostalgia game and then transition players to other titles, again, for an extra price. Honestly, I tip my hat to the person who came up with this approach. So far, the reception seems to be good, and I personally enjoyed the new class and those new quality of life updates very much. But now I'm wondering, does it mean that Diablo 2 will start getting regular content updates as well? Because historically, remasters function as one-time revenue events, and that's it. But with the approach like this, they could easily become yet another type of evergreen service titles. What do you think about remasters becoming new live services? Moving on to Highguard. It looks like the disastrous launch is hitting Wildlight Entertainment like a freight train, as the studio recently laid off a significant portion of its staff just weeks after the game's launch. The studio went to social media to announce the layoff without revealing the number of affected people. The company said it was a difficult decision, but they are still committed on working on the game with a quote-unquote core group of developers. However, according to social media posts of now former employees, those layoffs affected quote-unquote most of the Highguard team. This announcement, along with the continuing decline of player count, at least according to Steam charts, is a pretty strong indicator that the days are numbered for Highguard, despite all the hype the game got after the reveal in 2025. With that, some outlets are already saying that this game failed so hard because it was free to play and that the model is not working anymore, but I personally highly disagree with that. And here's why. First of all, there are a lot of games that nobody knew about, and all of a sudden they're the new sensation that generates millions upon millions of dollars in revenue. Fortnite, Apex Legends, Valorant, Marvel Rivals, and the list goes on. They did it by having ways to sustain large player bases, retention, and monetization over time. Highguard hit almost 100,000 people at launch, so let's pretend we have the player base covered. Which brings me to the second and probably most important part, retention. This game does not have enough to keep players coming back for more. It just doesn't. This is absolutely crucial for live service and multiplayer titles. And it can be because of a variety of factors. The gameplay combination is not great for the shooter lovers, the activities are not too deep to keep players engaged for a long time, and weak progression reward systems. To my knowledge, almost all of the above points were part of the early reviews. And lastly, there is a lot of competition on the market right now, some fierce competition. You have your battle royales like Fortnite, PUBG and Apex, you have your tactical shooters like Counter-Strike 2 and Siege, you have your hero shooters like Overwatch and Marvel Rivals, and of course you cannot forget about the rising stars in the extraction shooter genre. This game tried to blend a lot of these together to create something new. And sometimes it works and you get a delicious and refreshing cocktail. But sometimes you get a bitter mess that nobody in their right mind would drink. And hey, I'm not saying that's the case here, but it's also not that far from the truth in my humble opinion. It's colorful and it's exciting to try, but the aftertaste is somewhat nasty. Again, that's only my personal opinion. So I think the fact that this game is free to play has nothing to do with the fact that it failed. It just didn't have enough engaging substance for the modern audience. But I'm curious to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on Highguard losing the majority of its dev team? Is this the end? Also, quick thing. If you don't know who I am, my name is Alex, I'm a game producer and I'm here to help you get caught up on everything that's going on in the video game industry. And now let's talk about all the excitement from Sony's State of Play. The first one on the list is a surprise announcement from Santa Monica Studio about a remake of the original God of War trilogy. The project was announced by T.C. Carson, the original voice actor for Kratos, who revealed that the remake is in active development. But before you get too excited, it's still in early stages of development. And we probably won't hear about it for some time after this reveal. The only thing he promised is that when the time is right, there is going to be a big reveal, so be prepared. Unlike remaster projects that focus on upscaling, Sony explicitly framed this as a full remake, so we might have something big, like Mass Effect Legendary Edition kind of big. Given that we live in the age of remakes, this was only a matter of time. What's interesting though is that everybody is speculating that this project will also be available on PCs, but it still hasn't been officially confirmed, even though it makes total sense. Also, the studio shadow dropped a brand new 2D God of War game, which is also exciting. Another surprise was from Lionsgate and Saber Interactive, who are working together on a full-fledged John Wick game, and I'm so excited about this one. Again, this project is probably in the early stages of development, so there is not a lot of information about it. It doesn't even have an official title yet. But according to the official announcement, it is a single-player AAA third-person action shooter, designed to reflect the tone, combat, and style of the movies. And from the trailer, we can already see that so-called Gun Fu will play a major part in this game. Keanu Reeves is obviously also there, so there is another big plus in itself. And besides being excited, I think that with a studio like this project is in very good hands. Saber Interactive has a lot of successful action games under its belt, like World War Z and Space Marine, and with Keanu being part of the project, a lot of buzz is guaranteed. If this game is successful, it could also trigger a whole new game franchise. The only thing that I'm concerned about is that cinematic IP games must deliver deep, responsive gameplay systems, and there is a lot of competition in the action shooter niche. So if the devs could overcome those obstacles, we're definitely in for a treat. Next up, the highly anticipated project from the creators of Pokémon also made an appearance, with some new footage and a release date of August 4th, 2026. The trailer once again showcases more traversal elements, story bits, huge bosses, and satisfying parries, but unfortunately not much else. Still, the project remains something to look forward to. And like Pokémon, this one will shape the future of the studio. Whether it will fail and the company remains associated with one single brand, or it will blow up and justify continued diversification. Are you excited to see what it will be? Now, as we talked about last week, the success of Ghost of Yotei is already spawning additional content for the game, with the announcement of Legends, a free online co-op multiplayer mode scheduled to be released on March 10th, 2026. According to the official announcement, this mode will introduce 3 mission types that you can engage in a 4-player co-op with 4 distinct character classes. This DLC follows a similar pattern to that of Ghost of Tsushima, with Sony trying to boost player engagement without extra purchase friction, which is smart. This free co-op content can transition the game from a single-player launch title into a sustained community ecosystem, and could justify future DLC investments. Or even something bigger, test the waters before announcing some big multiplayer live service title, since it is all the rage right now. Of course, granted, if these modes are a big hit with the players. Either way, getting more value without additional costs is always a good way to please your players. Kudos to Sucker Punch for that. And now let's do somewhat of a lightning round with the other bits and pieces from the State of Play. So here we go. 007 First Light got a new story trailer showcasing the journey of the new James Bond from a recruit to a full-fledged agent of Her Majesty. An endlessly replayable co-op shooter 4Loop revealed a gameplay deep dive, where game director Mike Booth breaks down various systems. A brand new title in the Brigandine series was teased in the form of Brigandine Abyss. A new game in the Castlevania series was announced, set 23 years after Castlevania Dracula's Curse, where you follow a young Belmont's journey in a 2D action exploration title. Remedy Entertainment revealed gameplay for the upcoming Control Resonant with some dev commentary. A gothic action-adventure RPG Crimson Moon was announced, where you raise all sorts of hell as a violent half-human, half-angel hybrid. Darwin's Paradox got a new gameplay trailer and a release date, a game where you play as a charming and clever octopus trapped in an industrial complex. Death Stranding 2 on the Beach got a PC release date. A fighting game Dead or Alive 6 was announced, as it returns with more striking and intense battles. A new sequel for Kena was revealed, which is set to expand the action, adventure, and combat of its award-winning predecessor. Marathon released another gameplay trailer ahead of its March release date. Pragmata got a new trailer with a world overview. Project Windless was revealed with a slashy new trailer and quite an interesting choice of a protagonist, I might add. The latest project from Housemarque, Saros, made yet another appearance as well, showcasing even more bullet hell than ever. A new project in the Silent Hill series was announced called Townfall. And lastly, not long after the announcement, Star Wars Racer surprised everyone with a high-octane gameplay trailer. Phew, that's a lot of stuff. I might have missed a couple of things, but I think I covered the biggest pieces. Let me know what excites you the most on this list. And that's all I have for you today, friends. As usual, if you want to know more, all links are in the description. And of course, clicking the like button helps this channel and brings you more and more interesting news each week. Subscribe if you're new, as I put out new videos every week. Thank you for making it this far. Have a great rest of the day, and that's Alex signing off for now. Cheers!